be honest with you guys, until the last few Boruto episodes, I hadn't actually planned to cover the Church of the Otsutsuki clan and the followers of MADARA UCHIHA until 2022, if I'm being blunt with you. However, the last few Boruto episodes that featured the character of Boro have completely upended my plan to do a series of videos on this topic. Though Boruto's anime has had Reverend Boro looking cleaner than your pastor on Sunday morning, the fact is that while he's the first in the anime that you've seen preach of the way of the Otsutsuki clan, he's not the first, and in fact there are actually quite a few people who shared his beliefs, which is why I'm going to take the time out to map out the progression of the Otsutsuki religion that is sweeping through the underground of the ninja society, starting with how it actually began and how it ultimately made its way to Boro preaching every Sunday morning at the pulpit. Now, as I've told people who've asked me over the last few episode reviews, why are people following the Otsutsuki clan? Don't they know that they're the bad guys? Like I told each of you, it's a very complicated answer, and now you're going to see why. The rise of this cult religion actually starts at the feet of the two previous Hokage, Tsunade and Kakashi, and the prior generation of 5 Kage. Their choice to label MADARA UCHIHA as the cause of the 4th Great Ninja War and the infant tsukuyomi that everybody was placed under, as shown in the Boruto anime when Tsunade gave her speech on Naruto's birthday on the 16-year anniversary of the 4th Great Ninja War, where she stated that MADARA UCHIHA was the cause of the calamity known as the 4th Great Ninja War. There are consequences for what the 5 Great Nations did 16 years ago, but like I said, it's extremely complicated. Now, it's easy for us fans to say what MADARA did was wrong, trying to force peace upon people by taking away their free will. However, there are still quite a few people who agree with MADARA's line of thinking, and by quite a few people, I mean a few thousand people, which is why you have some people who say that even though MADARA lost, he actually won, because his belief in his message lives on in more people than it did when MADARA was alive. In fact, to some, including former Allied Ninja Shinobi Forces members who fought against MADARA, MADARA is like a god to them. They wouldn't be the first ones to fall under the spell of MADARA either. Obito went from being a loyal Konoha Shinobi to buying everything that Pastor MADARA sold him on the infinite tsukuyomi of a world without winners and losers. In the immediate aftermath of the Ninja War, you had tens of thousands of shinobi on the battlefield, and you had millions across the continent who were caught under the infinite tsukuyomi. The ninja on the battlefield had spent the 2 previous days and nights fighting against the Edo Tensei zombies and fighting against the White Zetsu. They saw their comrades in arms die all around them. Those ninja were suddenly in their own personal dream world. They were in a world that no longer had violence, no suffering, no pain. The only thing they knew was bliss and happiness. For those who longed for the love of someone that they admired, they were suddenly sitting on a bench right next to their crush. Those who wanted to be reunited with dead lovers and relatives like Tsunade were able to do so in this Genjutsu world of dreams. In Naruto Road to the Ninja, where Masashi Kishimoto did the storyboards for that movie, we even saw Naruto briefly fall under the spell of an incomplete version of the infinite tsukuyomi, where Naruto lived out a life where he wasn't a Jinchuriki, had both of his parents, and could celebrate his mother's birthday. Imagine going from having your comrades dying in your arms to having them in a world where they're all alive again, of having no fear of the 4th Great Ninja War raging out, having no fear about wondering if you're going to die next. Now imagine being in that dream world and then being suddenly thrown back into the cold reality of the real world, having dead bodies all around you, having the memories of the last 2 days of war suddenly come crashing back down to you. It's a lot for people to experience. It's a level of trauma that is closer to what Itachi forced upon Sasuke in the Tsukuyomi, where Sasuke had to relive the Uchiha massacre for 3 days in a constant time loop for 72 hours. There were thousands of shinobi who suffered mental breakdowns because of this very thing, which is why Sakura Haruno, at the time working with Kakashi as the 6th Hokage, for the prior 2.5 years in Kakashi's run as Hokage, Sakura began establishing mental health clinics throughout the 5 Great Nations. The primary treatment was for children who were suffering from those very mental breaks, but it was also for former shinobi, as well as shinobi still struggling with the war. Innocent civilians who lived in the 3 countries that were evacuated to become the battlefield for the Fourth Great Ninja War, they returned to those countries to see the scars of war, their homes destroyed, their coastlines forever altered by the ninjutsu from the clashing forces, and in some cases, Bijudama were fired by the Edo Tensei Jinchuriki that Obito controlled, and then later on, Bijudama were being fired by the actual Ten Tails itself. Entire villages were wiped out, leaving people with nothing. These people suffered mental breakdowns, in particular the children did. Shinobi couldn't cope with the dream world being ripped away from them, and many did the unthinkable as a result of this. They fled the actual continent itself, refusing to go back to the ninja villages and used the high death toll of the war to actually hide themselves because people thought, I can't find the body. Well, maybe, just maybe, they got eviscerated by a Biju bomb. That wasn't crazy to think, and even 2 years after the Ninja Wars, Shikamaru was still struggling to find the people that were missing and the people that actually got destroyed during the war. Refusing to be part of a system where war could break out again, refusing to go back to the ninja villages that banded together to stop MADARA UCHIHA from allowing them an easy way out of this world of chaos and carnage and suffering. Shinobi must endure. Every Naruto fan knows that. However, these former shinobi threw away their headbands, choosing they don't want to endure anymore because they had a taste of the perfect world and they want to go back to that perfect world because reality is oftentimes too cruel. This is where the rise of the Otsutsuki worshiping church really began here. It began with the Armament Alliance, which is a group that popped up after the war that were inspired by Madara's actions and believed that he was right about the world being corrupt. Hence why on my original channel, Kryptonian Saiyan, I referred to them as being the sons of Madara. They believed that the infinite tsukuyomi was right and they sought to achieve peace in the world by getting rid of money. No money meant that ninja villages couldn't operate. If ninja villages couldn't operate, then they couldn't go to war with each other. Their actions led to them carrying out a massacre in the Land of Waves, which is a part of the Land of Fire, and it was ultimately stopped by Naruto in the year that passed between the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War and this event happening. Naruto spent a year and a half co-leading a team with Sai to round up the runaway shinobi who deserted after the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War. Naruto's team was meant to put out fires like the prior mentioned massacre in the Land of Waves. The world was truly in a transition from this era of war to the early beginnings of peace, but there were losses of life during this time as well as a lot of challenges. As word of Naruto and Sai's team began to spread, those ninja in hiding who chose Madara's ideology over the actual nations fled the actual continent and went to the Land of Silence, which is part of the reason why Sai was eventually sent there. Yes, Sai did go there looking for ninja who disappeared, but ninja were already leaving for the Land of Silence long before the events of Shikamaru Hiden, a cloud drifting in the wind. The reason why was Gingo, a former Mist Shinobi who tried to help Zabuza kill off Yagura back when the Hidden Mist Village was known as Blood Mist Village. Gingo was also somebody who sympathized with Madara, believing that the ninja world needed to change. Gingo used his genjutsu to lure people to the Land of Silence in order to form his group, the Enlightened Ones, which I've done a whole video here on Naruto Explained in the After Naruto Shippuden playlist that you should check out. Now, Gingo wanted to do something similar as the Armament Alliance. He wanted to strip away money from the major ninja villages. Without funding, ninja villages couldn't operate. So Gingo had his Enlightened Ones take on ninja missions at a super cheap rate in order to undercut the ninja villages. However, Gingo also thought that while Madara was right, shinobi needed to be the ones who actually ran everything, due to them actually being the ones who could mold chakra and use chakra to do superhuman feats. It was still a world without winners and losers, but it was more of a tiered system. Shinobi would just get more preferential treatment than non-shinobi. Eventually, Shikamaru would help defeat Gingo, but as a result of Gingo being taken down, those shinobi under his control further caused the Land of Silence to descend into a land of lawlessness, and it's continued all the way into the actual Boruto era. Shinobi who fled the ninja world after living their dream life and seeking escape were being controlled by Gingo's words and his genjutsu, but then Gingo gave them hope and a sense of purpose, and now because of actual shinobi like Shikamaru, that purpose was removed from them, and so they became lawless lost souls without an actual reason to live. In each of these instances, those who agree with Madara's infinite tsukuyomi went about different ways of doing the same thing, trying to destroy the ninja system and make a world without winners and losers so people could get back closer to the actual dream world that they lived under when they were under the genjutsu. The only thing that was missing was somebody who could perform the infinite tsukuyomi. Now, the reason why this is important is you have to transition over to Sakura, because Sakura plays a role in this. So Sakura tried to help combat this very problem with her mental health clinics, but not every mind can actually be healed, especially when somebody like Boro has actually risen up through the ranks. In the Boruto era, we see that there's still quite a bit of inequality in the world, and there's quite a lot of suffering that's still going on. The Hidden Rain Village is still in ruins despite Naruto's promise to fix it, as shown when Sasuke and Saya investigated there and you found out that Jigen and Kara were doing human experiments in the Rain Village. Mujino stated during the Kara actuation arc that there are small countries that have wars that Konoha has to break up the fighting for, when he was explaining his job to Boruto and Sarada when they were taking that boat ride to the Land of Valleys. Now, in Konoha, the whole reason why the Byakuya gang exists is because there's a poverty problem in the Land of Fire. Not all citizens are well off. Even in Konoha, those who were old enough to remember being trapped in the infinite tsukuyomi can remember a world where they didn't have to worry about going hungry. They can remember having a warm blanket. They can remember having lights on. They can remember being able to afford eating Ichiraki ramen. Now, those same people are back living in a life of poverty, of wanting the basic needs for survival and believing that the things they desire were only dreams that they can never fulfill. They're sick, they're hungry, they're desperate. And it's not just Konoha where some of this takes place, it's in all the ninja nations, which is why Kara, as I've talked about in other videos, Kara is actually running the black market and preying on a lot of these people, which makes it easier for them to actually be recruited by somebody like Boro. Those are all things, and those are all people that Boro has targeted. That's why Boro preaches of what the Otsutsuki brought to the world via the infinite tsukuyomi. While there are those who know of Kage's existence, most people believe that Madara was the one who tried to force the genjutsu on the world of people. Boro not only is telling the truth to the mass groups of people who will listen to him, but he's also making them realize that the ninja villages are lying to them by not telling them the whole truth, and they're responsible for their current situation. Not only that, but by ripping people out of the infinite tsukuyomi, they're no longer able to actually escape the tragic day-to-day lives that these people live. Boro chooses his words very closely. Offer up your bodies and you can enter into the cocoon of dreams. You can return to the infinite tsukuyomi. Those who are too young, he explains it to them, the benefits of actually being in it, while omitting the actual truth. Boro is playing on a very specific set of human nature that is actually covered in the 48 Laws of Power. The laws in question are as follows: create compelling spectacles, play on people's fantasies, and create a cult-like following. The spectacles are when he uses his ability to unleash an invisible virus into the air to make people sick. Then he suddenly appears preaching from the book of the Otsutsuki, reading about the rapture known as the infinite tsukuyomi, as he then releases invisible antibodies into the air to cure the people from the virus that he himself unleashed. He plays on people's fantasies by painting a picture of a dream world that some of these people experience via the infinite tsukuyomi, and he plays up the theatrics in order to actually win over the people who are ignorant of the truth. This has allowed him to create that cult-like following that you see at his church, which also allows him to play to the human need to belong to something that is bigger than oneself. He does this because Jigen has told Boro and the other Kara members, as we know from the manga, that all their dreams will be fulfilled. Boro is old enough to have been one of those people who was caught in the infinite tsukuyomi if he was living on the continent at this time. However, it's highly likely that he himself does not know the trade-off, or maybe he actually does. Hence why he said you have to give your bodies. In that case, you have someone who's so tired of this cruel world who chooses to be nourishment for the chakra fruit in exchange for living his lifetime in the actual dream world. He's going to die eventually in either world, the real world or in the genjutsu world. But at least by going to the genjutsu world, he has a say-so in how he actually experiences death because he dies blissfully ignorant. That speaks to a bigger problem that Naruto and the other Kages face. Boro isn't the first of his kind, and he certainly won't be the last. As long as the issues that led to people longing for the infinite tsukuyomi aren't actually addressed, there will be conflict and there'll be charlatans like Boro. But it really should be noted that to Naruto's credit, after the events that happened with Isshiki Otsutsuki, Naruto had Boruto on television talking about the danger of the Otsutsuki clan, and Boruto taking credit for playing a key role in pushing back yet another Otsutsuki clan invasion. So the dialogue is getting out there, but the way that the Kages have handled everything leading up into the start of the Boruto series has actually given rise to people like Boro. Hopefully this helped clear the air for a lot of you guys who are confused. For more in-depth info on the things I talked about in this video, I recommend my After Naruto Shippuden playlist, where I go over the events of what happened between Naruto chapter 699 and Naruto chapter 700. But as always guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.